Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Omar. It is January 26, 2020, 10:29 a.m. And I want to make a video building my watch list for next week. The volatility has been fantastic in the market. Tons of gap and craps, man. If you have E-Trade, take advantage because there've been a lot of opportunities. Obviously, the brokers that are more catered to day trading, like Cobra and Centerpoint and Speed Trader, it's pretty those, it's very common. But unfortunately, I think a swim you're missing out on a lot of these shorting opportunities. But hopefully, when DAS platform's available, that'll change. There should be a lot more shorts available. Hopefully, but so we know a lot of movers have been taking place. This is my watch list here for next week. NNVC is moving. Now, these are all moving because of the coronavirus. And basically, these are stocks that cater to that market. So for example, NNVC, and I got this from Yahoo. Well, NNVC wasn't on here, but NNVC is one of these companies I think that deal with like antiviruses. They make vaccines, so that's why this stock is moving, and a couple of other stocks that I added on this, all based on that. I'll come back to this, like Lake, APT. We'll talk about those other stocks in a moment, but basically we see that this thing has gapped up. I think when the coronavirus first, like, they started talking about it on the 21st, and then it just completely tanked. But now it's moving again. So because I think this coronavirus is a real thing. I think it's far worse than what they're saying, especially in China. They can control the narrative. So I expected, if all indicators are true, I expect it to squeeze some more come tomorrow. In terms of where to play this, pre-market, this is probably going to start moving. I really don't know where it's gonna settle. More than likely, probably, like, I would say probably like $9. And then if it does settle at $9, then I expect it to like squeeze up pre-market, kind of get towards 13, then kind of open and fade back down to this 1160 or 1020 level, and then just rip and just squeeze shorts, and then continue higher. This is a stock that previously, if I go back on the time frame, let's do 10 years. Let's do a week. This is a stock that has ripped. It done it in the past. It went from 20 to $68. I mean, not with like very little volume, like barely anything traded, but it has done it before. So this is a stock that you could see. It was once at $37, went to a high of $151. This was back in a long time ago. This is back in like 2013. But it has squeezed in the past. Is basically what I'm saying. It's had shown range in the past. So that's my expectation. I think now, again, if it can't hold that 1345 and test it, take it down. Same thing with any key level. So when you see a stock, it's very simple when you play the technicals. Let's say a stock gaps down here, and then it starts spiking. If it spikes and gets rejected there, that's where you could take advantage and go short, and then cover. Look at the range you get from here to here. It's a point, almost nearly a point. So there's a lot of range in the stock. Just be careful because it can rip you. But I expect this, if the coronavirus stuff is true, I expect it to continue higher. So just look at the key levels for potential entry. If it like panics, look for a quick dip buy at 765 and get out. If the overall trend is still bearish, you just want to play that quick momentum. That's what day trading is about. Because you may not be able to get shares to short of this, depending on your broker. So that's NNVC. Next up, MGN. MGN, this is a stock that went to 145, gap down to 92, right? And then just been consolidating at this 94 level, and it spiked. Now, I would say I would be looking tomorrow to short this. So like, if this thing spikes, this is a play that I love, and it gaps up to this 115. This is where all the overhead bag holders got caught, right? So they're gonna be wanting to get out. So I would be looking to short it. Now, what I sometimes do is I scale. So let's say it breaks above it, and I start a short position, but I still think the trend's overall bearish. Then I would just let this ride, and if it can't test this level, I would scale in short. So I would add to my short position to get my average up. And then if I test this level and then reject, then I can, cover into like a support level, and then I still become profitable. So that's how you can play this. But I'm bearish on this. I think, tomorrow it gaps up. Hopefully, even pre-market, if I see test 115, I'm gonna start in short. So that's my plan for APT tomorrow. I mean, MGEN. Next up, APT. APT spiked all day, and then it spiked after hours. And this is what I wanted to show you earlier. The reason being is because APT is a stock that what is this? APT they make masks. That's why they're in it. So if there's a real virus situation in China with over 1 billion people, they're gonna be buying lots of masks. Masks are gonna go up all over the world. So if this coronavirus is serious, which I think it really is, I think it's worse than what they're saying in China. I don't know about the rest of the world, but specifically China, my expectation is that this is gonna probably pass 8687 tomorrow and keep going. Now, what you want to do again is just see where the next level of resistance is, above that level to know where you could potentially get caught. So right now it's at 6. Oops, let me Right, so it's at 687. All right, so it's really haven't been this high. Eventually this is gonna go back to nothing. It's gonna be a great short, but for now, while the hype and the panic is in the news, you just play the news. So let's see. Maybe I'm gonna put 20 years, and I'm gonna put a month. Let's see if it's ever been higher than that. So yeah, in the past, it has been higher than this. Back in 2009, it hit 760 before it tanked. So I would map that level. And they traded 24 million shares. So yeah, and then it did get up to a high of 1073. So now I know my other key levels. So let's map that. So here's 1073. So I know what levels of resistance are above it. This is gonna go back to nothing, and tomorrow may be the day. But if there's a lot of hype and panic around the coronavirus, and there seems to be, then I can see this tomorrow squeezing shorts that are risking off 687 and then just continuing to go at least and potentially testing that 760 level. We'll see. Now, if let's say it doesn't, let's say it breaks below 640 and at the open it spikes and rejects this, take it short. Maybe it's over and it's going to head down to 550. There's a lot of range, a lot of opportunity for you to short. So that's APT. Next up, TRIL. Another one of these stocks that I think was TRL one of these stocks. Oh no, TRL was not one of those stocks, but it's a therapeutic company. It gapped up to 486 and then it tanked to 391, kind of held support. This is where buyers originally got in. See, 390. See where buyers stepped in. That's why it bounced off there. And now it's back at 460. So I don't know if it's going to continue higher, but the trend has been upward. So maybe it continues to go up. I'll map that 460 level just in case, because I think it's a key level. And you see now at the post-market, it was kind of consolidating. Let's see if it tanks. Now, if it breaks down here and it gaps up and it gets to this 440 level and it rejects it, you could take it short and look to cover down here 391 again. If it breaks 391, that's it. It's over. I think the panic sell will set in and this thing will head back at first to 368, and then I think eventually it heads back to 337. But we'll see. You could look at the fundamentals and see what's driving the stock. Maybe there's some good reason why it's trending up. And like always, you always want to check the next level above to see. And this is a yearly breakout. So if it breaks 486, pulls back and holds, then you can take it long. But you want to make sure you want to go back further in time just to see. So yeah, this is a stock that, look at all this overhead resistance. All right, so once it gets into this 540 level, 550 level, there's a lot of bag holders, so it'd be hard to get above this. I mean, the next key level above was that 6030 level. That's when it originally kind of like tanked. But there's a lot of bag holders here in this 525, 530, 540 level. I would probably map 540 and just see what happens if it does break out and test new highs. So that's something to consider. All right, so that's why it's always important to know what the next level above is. All right, next up, CASA. CASA is another stock that's gapping up. Casa Systems, it went from 363 to 484, so it had a nice little move there. It's been on an upward trend over these last 2 days. Look at that, like sort of like a stair pattern. It has a gap to fill all the way above at 635. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's 649. So the low of this candle, which would be 648. So 648 is where the gap would fill. Oops, let's put that there. So, not saying that it will. There's a lot of bag holders here at 535. I was just playing it, because it just had this move up. So I'd be curious to see what it's gonna do. Just had this one big day. Now it does have a gap to fill below too at 390, 389. So right here, yep, 390. So 390 would be where the gap to fill below. So it has a gap to fill above and a gap to fill below. So I'd be looking to see, all right, so 484 is the high, and 441 is where the buyers stepped in on this first pullback. 430 was the second level below it where buyers stepped in and drove it up. And then 413 is kind of where it originally kind of took off. So I'd be looking to see if it can't hold this, take it down. And I think, potentially to cover at one of these two levels. And if it holds, especially this 440 level, then maybe it's gonna keep going. So just something to keep a lookout on. APHI is a stock that gapped as well. Another healthcare company. It went from 150 to 415. So it had this nice big move, and then it kind of faded down to 262, and then post market it hit a high of 341. So I would be looking to see what is it going to do. Is it going to kind of gap up here and then just reject and fade, or is it going to hold and keep going? So look for a key level. The key levels I'd be interested is to see is if it can hold this 360 level, and really potentially, to be honest with you, this is like a double top area. So 383 really is the key level. I would be looking to see, like, if it came here rejected, this would be a great area to go short. Risk it off this level. If it breaks, pulls back and holds, then you could take it long, but watch that 415 level, because you don't know what's going to happen if it gets there. But I think this is some bullshit. It's probably going to dump. So I'd be looking at one of these key spike levels to just take it down and see if it retests 262 and eventually gets back to this 150 level. Next, EHTH. So the reason why I put this stock, this eHealth, I don't even know why it's up this much, but I mean, look at the range on this. I know it's a high price stock, but Jesus, look at this. It went from $96 to $130. That's sick. And then it topped at 130, gapped at 120, and now it's uptrending. So I would be looking to see, and these are levels that you gotta kind of pay attention to. This one especially, because this is kind of where the buyer stepped in, and this is where it kind of like took off. And I would be looking at all these key levels. But if I see it consolidate, full back to 120 and hold, then I would probably look to take it long off that 120. I mean, this thing got range. If it breaks 130, I mean, this thing could just keep going. So, this is all-time highs. I think it's going to give a lot of that back. I mean, every time, look at this. Twice when it's ready to test all-time highs, it dumped. And then this time it just gapped up. So I think some analysts drove it up. It probably, it's all being manipulated. But I'd be looking to see if it retests 130, can't hold, man. You can get a lot of range. Maybe it double tops in tank. So there's range here. So just keep an eye on it. Next up, INO. Another pharmaceutical company, is at 323, hit a high of 470 over the last 5 days, gapped down to 412, and now is on this upward trend. So I'm really gonna see if it holds 450, take it long, and if it holds 470, then this thing has the potential to test $5. What again, always look to see where the next level resistance is, and I don't think it gets. I doubt it breaks over 5. There's so many bag holders here at this $5 level that I think it's gonna dump at that $5 level. This is a shitty stock. I don't expect it to keep going. I expect it to die. But so I'll be tracking that. I think if it could retest 450 and fades, that's why I think it gets back again to 412 and even potentially $4 and eventually 360. So just keep an eye on that. But if it breaks 470, you can ride this to at least 510. All right, so just keep an eye. Spice, I call this. Man, I shorted this on this day. I started in the pre-market when it couldn't hold 2060, and I got this down all the way here. I covered like around in this. I'm sorry, like on that. I could have gotten. I was on the train and I set a stop at like somewhere like I think it was like right around here, and I got filled at like 1819, 1820, and I shorted it. So I got a beautiful short on this. And I'm stupid. I should have known better to reshort it because it's straight out of my short into resistance playbook. When a stock is weak, and it gaps up and it can't hold, you're gonna get more fade. So I think the same thing. Now it's on this downward trend after this crazy rip, which should have never, I mean, there's nothing justifying the stock being this expensive. But, the gap to fill is 16, and I'm gonna make this green because if it holds 16, then this thing may turn around and start running again. But it finally had this big dump and people took profits. I mean, this thing could potentially, if it doesn't hold 16, it's probably heading back to 14. I think is should be gapping all the way back down to this $11 mark. But what I'd be looking to see tomorrow is if, all right, so it bounced off 1623, gapped to 1772, and then kind of faded, and now it's holding. I would like to see that retest that 1772 level, and if it couldn't hold it, I would be looking to short it. And then so like what I expect is the market opens at some point, it starts gapping out, then it spikes, then it retests this, and then it just keeps fading all the way down to 16. 16 is critical. If it holds 16, I think it starts trending back up. But if it can't, I think it's heading back to $14. So keep an eye out. It still could be bullish, but if you look at this, it's a head and shoulders pattern. I mean, it looks bearish right now. So that's what I'm looking to do. Now, if you're saying, hey, Omar, but where would I go long? So let's say like if it held 1772, if I'm long in it here, I'm risking off that and looking to get out at 1830. Now 1830 for sure, I would short it. Like if it tests 1830, look at where all this overhead resistance. These are a lot of back holders got caught. It's definitely gonna pull back there. Even if it's still bullish, it's still gonna probably test this and then come back down and retest this. So those are key levels I'd be looking to short. But once it gets over 1830, I think this thing could get back up to 1925, and then especially after over 1925, I think it's gonna go cap up. So look at those key levels. Next up, AAP. I mean, I just put this on because it just had so much range. Advanced Auto Parts, the automobile industry is really tanking. I could tell you, I own the car dealership, and I could tell you that it's like a housing bubble that's ready to pop. You got all these people who are in cars that can't afford them and all want cars because they're brainwashed that they want to drive in Lexuses and Mercedes Benz and BMW, and they can't afford them just so that they can say, ooh, look, I'm in a Mercedes Benz, but I got like $500 in my savings. It's crazy. So I think I think companies like this, anything with auto is gonna be trashing, especially over the next 2 years. It's gonna be a disaster, in my opinion. So I would buy long-term puts on this if I was you. But in terms of where I would buy, so I'm looking at the stock. It held 141.21. I didn't map any levels, but look, this was like a key level here, right? So you saw it bounce, gapped up, bounced here, and then just kind of like just tanked down. So I'd be looking at these key levels to see how the stocks react. See right here, it gapped up and then faded, and then obviously it started around this area. I mean, it dumped. So what you want to do is you want to see, all right, what's the next area below it? So this is kind of where it took off. So in my opinion, this stock overall, eventually it's going to get back to 136. If I was you, I'd buy puts on this and hold them because it's going to get to 130. It's absolutely going to 130. It's on a downward trend. So, it'll spike, but look for an area to just short it and just ride it down. You can make a lot of money. 100 shares will still get you some serious points. And last but not least, Lake. Lake is, again, the reason why Lake is running is based off the coronavirus. Lake is a company that makes hazmat suits. So that's why it gapped up based on this coronavirus stuff. So, it hit a high of 15, 14 when the whole coronavirus spiked and then tanked and then held 12. So I would be, again, if this coronavirus stuff is serious, which I think there's a lot of seriousness in China, it has 1 billion people, so I think it could run. As long as it holds 13, just hold this. Hold this for a couple of days. If this coronavirus stuff continues on, I think Lake is gonna just fucking squeeze the shit out of shorts, and I think this thing could potentially, hit these other. I think it could test $17. Now I don't know if it will. Remember, I play the technicals, so the chart tells me what I should do, and then I just react to the chart. So, you know, obviously if it gaps up and tests 14.85, $15 and can't hold it, then I would short it, you know, and then look to cover at area of support, potentially. But if the coronavirus stuff is serious, I think this stock is going to do it. Now, it's going to run. Now, there's a lot of buyers. A lot of buyers stepped in here at this like 13 sort of 85 level, 84, 85 level. So if it could kind of like pull back and hold this, go long and just hold it. Risk 1305 and cut your size down so you can let the stock work for you. That's what you do, guys. It's risk management is what keeps you in this game, guys. It's not profits. It's really how you mitigate your losses. That's what will keep you in the game. So that's my watch list, guys. I know it's probably way longer than 10 minutes, but I really wanted to give you a detailed kind of analysis on everything. So you know, like, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter. Definitely follow me on Instagram. Tomorrow morning, probably before I leave to work, you'll see me shorting some gapper. I've been doing it every day. Just ask, and I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. Have a great Sunday.